Now, of course, all hell breaks loose in a bushfire, and we want to do everything we can to make sure that when one kicks off, that there is as little burn as possible. Reality is, we all know, because we see it with our own eyes, we live in our own communities, yet, of course, we keep being told, don't believe your lying eyes. There's more stuff to burn than ever before because they don't clean it up. Gurmesh Singh is the Nationals leader. He's also the Shadow Emergency Services Minister, and he's a man who's been a firefighter. Now, he asked the questions, and look, he's copping it, but I don't care. He's a truth teller on this, which is that the RFS is grossly behind on what they need to do when it comes to getting rid of the dead leaves, the dead bush, that, of course, once it gets caught on fire, it goes crazy. He joins us now from his home in Coffs Harbour. Nice to see you, mate, and congrats on becoming the leader.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, good to talk to you as well.
So, you point out the truth. Only 11% has been done. The sky starts to fall in. I don't care about the criticism. I just want to focus on what you know. Because people watching this show, they trust that not enough is being done, and as little as they choose to do, you expect them to deliver on the targets. What does it say that they have so under-delivered on this target?
Look, first, I just want to express our condolences to the family, friends and colleagues of the firefighter who passed away. I think it's very, very tragic that a firefighter would lose their life on a fire ground, and those fires are still burning. The Pacific Highway was closed last time I checked. So it's all, we're still in the midst of this tragedy, but it's also important to note this is not just an RFS issue. This is across all different land tenures that the state government has. Crown lands, national parks, state forests. It's not just an issue with the RFS. But having said that, the RFS has had their budget cut by nearly 15% in last year's budget papers. And this is something that we pointed out to the government at the time. We asked questions about it in question time. We've been asking about it in budget estimates as well. And it's simply not good enough that the year on year they continue to fail to meet their hazard reduction targets. But to see then a budget cut on top of that, I think that's a real kick in the guts for the hardworking volunteers, thousands of whom are out fighting fires this weekend.
Now, to this 11% figure, is this something that the media has overinterpreted? Is this something that that you can help walk us through? How do we get to that number? Because people hearing at the start of summer, the first sort of full week of it happening as we speak, well, presumably you'd want a lot more than 11% done. How did you get to that number?
Well, the government each year has a target for how many hectares of hazard reduction they want done, and it's not just burning; it's other methods like clearing fire breaks, mechanical removal of debris, and things like that. So they have a target that they want to reach every single year, and they've reached 11% of it so far. So obviously, there's a lot more that can be done, and I think one of the big lessons out of the 2019 and 20 bushfires were that we need to start having a really mature conversation around what it looks like in terms of fire breaks around properties and especially around communities and towns where you might have clusters of homes, you might have the outskirts of a town or a village. We really need to start having that mature conversation around what the outskirts look like and what the interface with the forest looks like. Because, time and time again, we see the forest basically straight up against those communities. Without any buffer at all. And, we wonder why we keep having these conversations over and over and over again.
Now, again, there's a whole bunch of sort of cultural stuff that's around all of this, right? Which, again, the volunteers, no issues whatsoever when it comes to the RFS, the paid firefighter. We get all of that, right? But what will inevitably happen is I'm going to get a phone call from somebody tomorrow saying, well, hang on, you forgot to carry the one here, and what about this many windows, and we had to cancel because of this, that and the other. But again, you as a local MP would know that there are people who get in touch with you from, Nana Glen to even further out in and around where you are that are going to say, mate, there's this one bit that has just been gathering and gathering and gathering for 10 years and nobody's doing anything about it, right? So there's this giant gulf between what we know as citizens and what we get being told from head office. Why does that gap exist? Because presumably, if I was able to say, hey, there's a problem over there, and if that sets on fire, it might become a dangerous one, you'd think people would want to go and fix it. The volunteers want to fix it, but the brass, for some reason, not as urgent. Why?
Well, I'll give you an example of a piece of land that was burnt out in the 2019 bushfires just west of Coffs Harbour here. That particular patch of forest is Crown lands. Numerous homes were burnt out and lost along that road. And just a couple of years after the fire, I'm talking 3 years after the fire, you drive through that area and it looks as overgrown and as it's ever looked. The landowners in that area wanted to get that get the hazard reduction done on that piece of land, whether it was mechanical or burnt through again, they didn't care, but they could see the risk to their homes and properties. Again, only a few years after that fire, just build up and build up and build up. And it's this layers of red and green tape that has held it up to this day, 6 years after it burnt the last time, with the fuel load just sitting there gathering. And these people's anxiety about that piece of forest is growing day by day. And we know we've had a fairly wet start to the year here in the northeast, but since about July, August, we've had a very dry run. And if I were them, I'd be worried as well because a huge fire will come through there at some point. And that's, I've been called alarmist, but I don't think it's alarmist to point out the realities of what we're facing. And, we don't want to go through 2019-20 again. That was incredibly scary for a lot of people.
Correct.
We lost a lot of lives, we lost a lot of property, but we failed to learn the lessons. And the lessons are we need to be doing more of this in the cooler months. We need to be using different methods, mechanical hazard reduction where it's possible, burning where it's possible, and doing as much as we can and being a lot smarter about it.
Gurmesh, so good to talk to you, mate. And again, congratulations on becoming the Deputy Leader of the Coalition, Leader of the Nationals, and keep speaking the truth. P.S.
Great to chat.
Good on you, mate.